Hi, welcome to Inspired. I'm your host, Jackie, and we have a great show for you tonight. We're going to be, since May is Mental Health Awareness Month and also Mother's Day weekend, we have a guest that's going to get a little bit more into what self care is and how important it is to apply in our life. And today I have Dr. Audrey Smith with me, and she is a clinical psychologist um, with the Dayton Vet Center here in Dayton, Ohio. And she has experience in combat theater and military sexual trauma and the various vet centers that provide bereavement counseling to families who have lost a service member on active duty. So she has recognized all the communities required at mental health in order to be successful. And Dr. Smith believes that empowerment derives from wellness in each of these parts, and that health and empowerment and both the rights and the responsibilities of each of us. So I really appreciate you being here tonight, Dr. Smith. And it's a very important topic for me, self care. And I'm sure a lot of others are applying self care. So, can you just give us a layman's term of what self care is?
Yes, and thank you so much for having me, Jackie. This is really inspiring what you do, what you've been doing for so many years, and so I'm honored to be here.
Thank you.
Yes. And so self care is actually not a set of behaviors, it's really an intention, it's really an attitude of caring about oneself. When you think about caring for a child, care comes from someplace, not just what you do, but the how you do it, right?
I agree.
Yes. So self care can be anything that has the intention to uplift, to support, to promote, to make better a person. And it's that thing that we do for ourselves. It's that thing where we really intend that this needs our attention, and we give it our attention, our time, our energy, sometimes a little money,
Yes.
to take care of oneself.
Yes. Why do you find that it's so challenging, especially for women, to apply self care in their daily lives?
You're right, there are so many barriers that we face. Often they're within ourselves, like our own mindset driving us, telling us what we should be doing, right?
Right.
And sometimes the idea of doing overtakes the idea of just being. And so when we get into go, go, go mode, action mode, then we sometimes forget to just be who we are, and that our worth and our value is not in our works and our getting it done, that our worth and our value is already inside.
Absolutely.
But in addition to our own ideas about not taking care of ourselves, but rather taking care of everything and everybody else, we have a lot of social and cultural ideas about women in particular being functional, being good mothers, women being in the workforce, women really having to prove themselves in certain workforces that haven't been open to women traditionally, like the military.
Yes.
And when you are really trying to prove as though you don't already belong, as though you aren't already good enough, then sometimes you overachieve. And in that achievement mindset, in trying to prove to someone else, there is often a lack of taking care of yourself.
And don't you find that when you get to that point that there's burnout and you're just at your last end of the rope of, close to, the nervous breakdown stage because
Absolutely.
you're on that wheel of going so much?
Yes, yes. It really becomes the wheel just rolls itself after a while. We're so used to getting up early, getting it done, taking care, going to school, going from one thing to another, that we don't have to try very hard to keep going. We have to try very hard to slow down,
Yes.
to take breaks, to remember that we are valuable just because we are.
Absolutely. And I find a survey that more than 7 in 10 Americans, 73% were more conscious of needing self-care in 2020, which that was the time where, we were starting to go into that phase of our COVID epidemic.
Yes.
So do you find that maybe with those maybe couple of years, our downtime where we couldn't go anywhere, that people were focusing on the self-care?
Yes, because why not, right?
Yes.
When we're forced to sit down, sometimes our minds will go toward places of pain, toward our memories of our past and challenging situations. But sometimes our minds go to those creative solutions. How do I become better? How do I strengthen myself? If I am a tool for use and service in this world, if I am a tool just to take care of the people to whom I belong, how do I polish and sharpen that tool and make it its best? So during the pandemic, we had a lot more time and to think and to get creative. And I think a lot of people recognized in that time also kinds of pain that bubbled up and the exhaustion, as you
Yes.
mentioned, burnout
Yes.
that bubbled up. And it's really shown itself in the workforces with the Great American Walkout and people saying, I'm not going back to that wheel, to that
Yeah.
rat race, to that go, 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 because there's another gear that I can move in and it feels a little better. It feels a little more like it's time to
Yes,
take
ma'am.
care of
I
self.
think too, people recognize their self-worth. A lot of companies these days don't really appreciate workers, and maybe that was a reset for someone in their life to say, hey, I'm working, they're not appreciating me, I'm not getting paid, and especially for women, because, black women, we're like almost at the end of the totem pole
Yes,
of the
lowest
pay
paid.
scale. So I think, now, and self-care has just exploded, in the
Yes.
country where we're really focusing on taking care of ourselves. So what happens when we don't self-care? What we got the opposite. What is that about?
Yes, what happens when we don't take care of the self? So, in some ways, what you mentioned, burnout, right? We just get exhausted. We get dull. If you think of your knife and if it's chopping, after a while, it's going to get dull. It's not going to be as effective or as efficient. And so we do too. Both our minds and our bodies will wear out. Another thing that happens is we get so accustomed to going that we forget how to self-care. We don't feel that we have time for self-care. Billie Holiday sang a song, I've been down so long that down don't worry me.
Powerful.
Yes, and so there are times where we don't even know that we are depressed, that we are worn out. We don't even know the opposite of exhaustion, so we don't recognize when we are in a state of exhaustion. But our bodies often do. What our minds won't tell us, our bodies will. Our livers, our pancreas, our heart, our blood pressure, our organs will let us know you're exhausted, we're depleted, we need more care for ourselves.
So why doesn't the mind connect with those organs that you just spoken on? Why is there a disengagement of
You going deep now, Jackie. You are going deep. Yes,
Why
there
is
a
that?
disconnect. There are lots of reasons, and I think a lot is just our culture. Our culture is a very doing-oriented. It doesn't spend a lot of time in mindful meditation, right? And I think our minds do want to take care of ourselves. They absolutely, our brain controls all of that. But mind over matter, right? So if I have this idea that I should go out and take care of things or do things or I'm not going to get paid, when I'm in a workforce that says if you don't show up, when you're an essential worker, right? Our essential workers are making the least amount of money, and yet they are, asked to show up and be present. Then the mind will push past what the body is telling us, right?
Right.
We will push through the pain. We will push through what our doctor said about, healthy nutrition or taking naps, right? And so the mind can just take us to other places, but if it doesn't cooperate and try to stay in connection and in wholeness, then we start to see the breakdown wherever it may be. It may be in the body, or as you mentioned, the nervous breakdown. And that, you know, the mental health system, in addition to self-care, we have a whole health care system that's designed to help take care of us. It's imperfect.
Yes.
It can be challenging to get
Yes.
into or through. I feel very blessed to work for the VA system, where the services exist and they are present, and most often we know where to go.
Yes.
We know where to refer our veterans for whichever kind of health care they may need. But in the public, in the community, it can be even harder to the wait list, the wait
Yes.
time, right? Or the number of groups that may happen to help one take care of their health or to take care of their mental health can be really restricted, or time limited, or expensive to do
Yeah.
some of those things. So there are a lot of reasons why we get disconnected and just don't do what there's a part of our mind that really knows. And I call that mind our spirit.
Yes.
Right, our
definitely
spirit knows, right? Our mind may be thinking, I gotta go, but our spirit knows, I just don't wanna, right? Or I
Yeah.
just need that break. And so trying to listen and pay attention to all parts of ourselves can really make a big difference to everything functioning at a better pace, at a better place.
Got it.
Mm-hmm.
So let's chat on the 5 types of self-care. 'Cause
Okay.
I didn't know there was so many types.
There's all kinds of
Through my
things we can
research, I'm
do.
like,
Yes.
wow. And why are each of these important? Emotional, practical, physical, mental, social, and what you just explained, spiritual. So why are each of these important for the overall of your self-care?
Yeah. You know, my profession, psychology, has a long held belief that it should be separate from, that the mind should be separate from the body, that it should be separate from the work of the church and the spirit. And so in that, you know, in our science and in our studies and in our origins of how we started these professions, we asked for this separateness. So it does become even more difficult to put it all together, but we know as human beings we are made up of all of those parts, and our emotions are a whole thing that need and deserve and warrant our attention and our care, our kindness, our compassion, right?
Right.
Yeah, our emotions all by themselves, they deserve to be treated gently, just like we would a child of ours, any precious possession of ours, right?
Right.
Yes. But on a practical level, we think of that often, right? Self-care in terms of the physical things that we can do, taking care of our bodies, nutrition, exercise, movement, dancing, right? And sleeping, those things, those practical.
I don't know anything about
You
that
have
topic.
no idea what I'm talking
I have no idea about the sleeping part.
We would
I'm
be-
working on 2.5 hours of sleep as it.
Oh my goodness, it pains me to hear that, but
I
I
know.
understand. You're a busy woman. You're taking care of a lot of people and inspiring a lot of people. And so sometimes you can be lower on that list, on that totem pole, but you kind of know what to do. It's just
Yeah.
really a matter
Applying it.
of applying it,
Yeah, applying it.
developing the skill. And a skill comes from repeat practice. And we don't practice, right?
Right.
We just snatch and grab and do it when we think we have the time, as
Right.
opposed to purposefully carving the time, you know, and guarding the time. Like, no, y'all, you can't have this. This is my Sunday. This is my Saturday afternoon.
Right.
This is
Where
the-
that comes in of saying no.
Yes, ma'am.
And that is that 2 little letter
Yes.
word
Yes.
is so difficult for so many people. Can you explain why that is?
Well, there are so many reasons, but yes, no is a very difficult thing to say. You know, we got, after our terrible 2s, they taught us don't keep going with that word.
Right.
Yes, but also just that mindset that we're valuable because of what we do, because of our profession or how we take care of other people. That mindset makes us feel like our value increases. I'm worth more if I say yes, right? People like me better if I say yes. It can be very difficult to say no as adults. When we're little, it's one of the first words we learn, right?
Yeah.
But We really fiercely are born into this world to take care of the self, to protect the self, and to ask everybody around us with whatever words we have
Right.
to help take care of us. But we kind of train that out of ourselves after a while. So I think mindset is really critical, the mindset. And then permission giving. It's part of, just telling yourself, it's okay for me to say no.
Yeah. I think that's a challenge for a lot of women, and especially ones that I have talked to throughout the years of, if I say no, are they going to be disappointed in me? And, or if I ask for something later, they'll say no to me because I said no to them. So it's very challenging for you to say no sometimes.
So in developing the skill, one, we just have to practice it sometimes just in the mirror, right? But crafting the words, because no doesn't have to be a harsh and final no. It can be a not at this time, or you can express that, Rish, I really want to help you. I really wish that I could, but this is not a good time. Or I've already got an appointment with myself to do some other things. Or my money is already obligated. My budget won't allow me to do these other things. So no doesn't have to be cold and harsh, right? But it does have to kind of start around self.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I agree.
Another thing is just not knowing ourselves, not knowing what I do delight in. When's the last time anybody's asked you, Jackie, what would you like?
Not in this century.
Okay, right. Or what would you like to do? We don't get trained to even know what works for us, what self-care practices would feel good to us. And if we don't know what we like, then it's easier not to say no, right?
Right.
It's easier to say okay with any idea that comes along or any suggestion that comes along. If I don't know what my budget is, then it doesn't make any difference if I go spend that money and do something or help somebody else out. But when I know what my budget is, my time budget, my energy budget,
Yes.
right, that I only have about 8 to 10 good hours in me every day. So any more than that, my energy budget is overextended.
So you think with the self-care, we need to apply more boundaries, setting boundaries, learning how to make boundaries for ourselves?
Yes, absolutely. Knowing what is within and what's helpful and what needs to stay without. I think earlier today when we were talking, you talked about toxicity, right?
Yes.
And letting go of toxicity. We really put that whole door and gate up to keep the negativity, the things that drain us,
Yes.
the things that make us, and toxic just means sickening,
Yes.
right? The things that make us sick.
Yes. I was telling someone I weaned myself off of Facebook. Well, a couple of years ago. Every now and then I'll pop on, but I was actually like, commenting back, and it's like I don't even know who this person is. I'll never see this person. So why am I putting that extra energy into something that's just, it doesn't really apply to my life, but I want to, give them my, $5 now. It's not even 2 cents anymore. But but the inflation,
here, let me tell you.
It's a little bit higher now. And it's like, you know what? I had to catch myself. And I said, you know what? There's other important things that I can focus on to better myself. So very seldom I'm on Facebook. So are there other things that with the self-care that we can use to not indulge in those type of activities and stuff like that?
I love that you used your internal barometer and you recognize, nope, it's running a little hot when I get on this Facebook. And so just paying attention to your internal feedback, right? Your spirit's feedback, your energy level. Does it, feel like a good increase in energy when you're doing an activity, or does it feel like at the end of it, I'm really drained?
Yes.
And I'm really, kind of down on everybody and everyone, including myself sometimes.
Absolutely.
But if you pay attention, then, your spirit will talk to you.
Is that the part of mindfulness?
Yes, that's exactly
You
what
want to
that
explain
is.
a little bit more about what mindfulness
Okay.
for our viewers?
Yes, I as best I can, because it's a concept, right? You know me,
Again,
Jackie. I will use a lot of words. But, I like to break a word down, too. My mind is full of one thing at a time. right? I'm just concentrating, like if now is my time to drink water, I'm just going to drink the water. I'm going to pay attention to the water coming in. And then when I'm done drinking the water, I'm going to put the water down, and then I'll focus on something else. But just having my mind be fully engaged so that my senses are paying attention to, my thoughts are involved around just one thing. So a lot of people think of meditation as you have to empty your mind. But really, meditation, which is a form of mindfulness, it's really the meaning of it is about focusing. It's about focusing our mind. Now, our televisions, our screens, our Facebook do not help us focus. They get us scattered and all over the place.
Distractions, yes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But they're a tool, and that can be a great form of social self-care if you're using it for your own good use and purposes. And I think on a budget or on a limited amount of time or for limited reasons, I don't have to be on every page and blog and site. But if there's one or two, this is how I connect to my high school friends, or this is how I connect to my grandkids because they like the Facebook, right?
Right.
Then I'm using it for my own interests, and it gives me joy. It's a good social connection. But if I don't be mindful, then it can be a time drain. Wait, where did the time go? Right? Oh, now it's 4 a.m. and I'm still scrolling and reading and looking. Yeah.
I was telling someone I knew there is an addiction to social media. And when you're waking up and the first thing you get grabbing your phone to, log on to this, technology, it's like, okay, that's way too much. Some people, they wake up in the morning, first thing they have is a cigarette. So that addiction is really hard to
Break.
Cold turkey. Sometimes you have to get to that point where, and I think with with COVID, going back to COVID, it gave me a lot of self-reflection of the years ahead that I have.
Yes.
And to really take advantage of every single moment that I have with my family and friends. And so with that self-care, and it's, weaning out toxic individuals in my life, family and friends, I had to make that checklist. Or I think we had a discussion a couple of weeks ago about our self-care toolbox. What are we going to put in our toolbox that's not going to, weigh us down or, So you want to talk about that toolbox?
Yes. I love the toolbox stuff. But I want to go back to that point about you using tools to take care of yourself. That Facebook can be a tool for you, and paying attention to what your body is saying, that your body is a tool that allows you to get things done. And so when you're really paying attention to your tool, you pay attention more to what it needs. So everyone is an individual for what they delight in. Some people like a massage with more pressure, and some people like, ouch, ouch, don't hurt me, just, a little less pressure.
Gentle.
Yes, exactly. So, that process of discovery and not being turned off if something isn't wonderful all at once, right? But in our toolkits or our toolboxes, sometimes we can just write the words that inspire us, the quotes that inspire us, so that our mind is reading and paying attention to ideas. It's focusing on some ideas that are helpful. But my favorite is the sensory toolkits. So we have things that smells that we delight in, right? If it's just a lotion or a candle, or putting some cloves and sugar in a skillet and just burning it and letting that scent fill up for just a moment, right? So smell is a really powerful thing that can calm our brains if we hearken back to, a recipe that our grandparents had, or a smell that Chanel No. 5 that, Granny may have worn. And then, taste, obviously, is a wonderful form. And sometimes I go there a little too often, that comfort food.
Yes, definitely,
Right.
definitely. And I think women, some women, use food as comfort, and sometimes with that self-care, that's not a good, or eating not healthy.
Yeah. Well, I think, food can be very comforting, and that's wonderful to delight in food. You just want to do it in balance with, as you said, there's these 5 other areas of
Yes.
self-care. So if I'm doing some physical activity and having some comfort from my food, but if that's my only way of relaxing, of chillaxing, right, is sitting or eating, then I'm going to do too much of that one thing.
Yes.
So, but when there's other foods that also taste good, when I'm willing to explore, because a curious mind is a really healthy mind. And again, I'll go to where our children are, right? They always want to touch something, and they always want to know more why, right?
Right.
And you just like it, you going to school and, mastering this information because you're curious. And that's a really healthy mind. Sometimes we get stuck, though. We figure we've got the answer. Oh, I like this, potato chips. That's it. And we don't really find out what zucchini with a little oregano can be. So exploring to find what else is comforting as well.
Yeah. Almost a balance of things.
That is the word,
Yeah,
Jackie.
balance.
That is the word.
Balance. So how would you recommend someone that was struggling in that unbalanced, lifestyle?
Well, just bravo to everyone that recognizes it's getting imbalanced. I know, a lot of times we think of a breakdown as something very negative, but it's really just, our way of getting our own attention, right? And so those breakdowns can be breakthroughs.
Yes.
And if we use them as such, again, use that moment to be mindful. Oh my gosh, I'm not getting what I need. Where can I go? How can I learn? How can I do me better?
Yes.
Right? So I welcome folks to come in and use mental health care, right? As a psychologist, of course, I'm going to plug my profession and I'm going to value what I do, but it's just one of many tools that is therapeutic. But it's an important one because we train, we have education, we really practice what we preach as best we can. We get very specific in helping people set goals. And therapy and mental health care can be for some folks, it's like the only time they really do think about themselves, that they really do take the time to come in, or now we do a lot more things thanks to COVID by the video. But that's still an hour of, it's all about me. Right? It's an hour of me paying attention to where do I want to go and what are the steps that I need to get there. And when you have a quality or certified mental health professional to help you do that, then that person has some expertise in helping to set those goals and achieve those goals and give you feedback, right? So you don't have to wait for your pancreas to tell you. You can tell each week or when you're going in for your therapy what other steps need to be done. Is this working or is it not?
Do you find that the stigma on mental health has gotten better? Because a few years ago or in the 80s, it was like, almost like worse than cancer. So do you find now today more people with the self-care and the mental health that is getting a little bit better?
Yes, we are reclaiming our minds. We are reclaiming our emotions. We're not giving them away to other people, to road rage or to the news and to Facebook. We are claiming them for ourselves. And that's what mental health care is all about, right? So I agree with you 100%. Stigma is a major barrier, especially in the African American community.
Yes.
Again, that community, the church asked the psychology and therapy to be something separate. And church is very therapeutic for us. It's a place that, that spiritual upliftment. It's a place of community connection. But often people think that they can't go together, right? That if I'm doing this, if I'm praying well, if I love the Lord, that maybe I shouldn't need a therapist. But I think you're right by more people acknowledging that they use mental health care. Both Will Smith and Chris Rock have acknowledged their use of mental health care. And
awesome.
Over the years, Viola Davis, her new biography talks about what a role that has played for her, right? Notice who Oprah has on her shows very often,
Yes.
right? And so there are people where to try to destigmatize, we're aware that everybody's using it. It's not really all that special or fancy,
Yes.
mental health care. So the fact that more people are acknowledging it helps people to say, oh, well, I could do that too. Oh, well, if they do and they don't seem crazy, then, that means I can go. You don't have to wait till things are really, really broken down.
Right, right. Do you find more African Americans now are utilizing our mental health
Services.
services? Yes.
Yes, I think you're right about COVID just waking everybody up to, okay, enough is enough. This, the anxiety around where's the world going, and there are, invisible germs that could be attacking me. The grief and the loss that we all had collectively.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so it just invited people to say there's got to be another way and to start to seek it out. And I think that, people of all communities, but I'm really happy to see when African Americans kind of break down that isolation, that don't need nothing, that, I got this kind of, and move into more we got this, that it's okay for me to have help.
And I used to hear a long time ago that our black men, didn't feel like, talking to a third party about, they're keeping things inside. So how does self-care help our men?
Often they start in the barbershop, right? I mean, that's where black men do their therapy, right? That's why it takes
So I've
all
been
day,
told.
right? And so there, I think everybody finds a way to let it out in some ways, but it's okay to let it out in a lot of ways,
Yes.
right? That there are a lot of things that are therapeutic, and going to the gym and doing all these things are wonderful forms of self-care, but that doesn't have to restrict you from, or anyone, restrict a person from doing other forms of self-care, trying it and being curious, wondering what that could be like, and dealing with sometimes the discomfort of something new. But yes, so for a lot of our African Americans, they are starting to see me too. I can join that too. And if it's good for some folks, maybe it can be good for me as well.
Yes, that's good. So let's go back on the 5 types of the self-care. The emotional, being your own friend, really getting to know yourself,
Yes,
peel back the layers of yourself until you get to that inner core, and really saying, hey, I need to work on these different issues, the trauma of the past, or whatever the case may be. And how do you deal with that emotional when you get to a point of recognizing you need to apply self-care in your life? So how would you say for the emotional, how important that is?
Yeah, I think it's really at the foundation, right? So I talk a lot about mindset and about beliefs and attitudes. And whatever it is that we believe is going to show up in our emotional self, right? I'm going to be like, or I'm going to be like, ooh, right?
Right.
I'm going to have a feeling about it. And that feeling is a really strong impetus to do something, right? So paying attention to how I feel about things and what things cause me that toxicity, that feeling sick, that feeling scared, paying attention to those things. So as you said, peeling back to the core. Who am I? What works for me? How do I feel about this? That helps guide what I'm going to do next. And not all uncomfortable feelings are bad feelings. Not all fear is a bad thing. Sometimes it's just teaching us I need some extra training, practice, support in order to break through and do this thing. But being able to discern and tell the difference between something that's kind of therapeutic anxiety or therapeutic pain and something that is really more traumatic pain, or it's going to cause me more damage from staying this way, right? I'm not sure if I'm getting to your question. You said, how important is it? And so I'll just say very.
Very important. I'll take that. I'll take that. What about practical?
Right. Okay, so that's kind of where I was going, was that how we feel is going to guide what we do. So practical self-care is like, building that toolbox. Like, I'll just encourage people, get a Walmart bag or get a beautiful a bowl,
Wooden
right?
bowl.
A wooden bowl, that's right. And put the things in it that create positive emotions for you, positive mindsets for you, positive memories for you. Practical self-care is just doing the thing and doing it regularly because, right?
Yes,
Right.
definitely.
Yeah, if Yes.
Even if you have to put in a calendar, you know,
Yes, please.
on this day I'm going to apply whatever type of self-care that would benefit me. And I created I can't think of the board for each year that
Your vision board.
my vision
Yes,
board.
ma'am. Yes.
I think I didn't realize how important it was. You
Yes.
know, but some of the things that I had on my vision board, I accomplished, and you could actually see. Okay, I checked that off. Checked
you
that off.
go.
So you know, whenever I build another vision board, then you can say, okay, I want to add this on this year, or you know, get my timeline for this new project I want to do.
Yes.
So I think I'm a visual person. So I
Yes.
need to actually see, you know, what
Yes.
accomplishments, not really
Yes.
not even accomplishments, but the self-care that I want to apply.
Yes, because I know with your vision board you have those achievements and those accomplishments, but you also have how I want to feel, right?
Yeah, I did do a little section on that.
Yeah, like you put those pictures of people smiling, right, or relaxing, or in that yoga pose or whatever, where that's an emotion that I want to connect to. But I love that you have that practical representation, that visual representation, because you know that that's what inspires you, right?
Yes, yes, yes.
Yes.
Okay, let's do physical.
Okay. So I think, they say motion is lotion. And we don't like to be ashy. So movement is so very important. And there's so many kinds of movement. Often we think we got to go pay and go to a gym in order to take care of our physical body. But, walking is what the human form was really built for. It's free, it's easy. You do want some good shoes to protect your feet because that's where, you touch the earth and you want it to be solid, right?
Absolutely.
But motion, and recently I've just discovered how important dancing is, right? And just that little boogie while you're fixing your breakfast, or doing a few steps, in the morning when you're getting yourself dressed. That can be really helpful. Just keeping moving.
I got you.
So that, for the physical form, and then the nutritional form, because they say that, plants are the first medicine, right? And that food is medicine, and it does different things, how it operates in our guts and our bloodstream. So paying attention to what we put in. And that doesn't mean we can't put in some other things. It just means really paying attention, being mindful, and encouraging ourselves to explore and see how we feel when we try some other things that they put on the, good nutrition side of that.
Right. And everything is in moderation too.
Absolutely.
So, and number 4, they have mental, which we've touched on a little bit on the mental. Anything else to add to the mental self-care?
Well, I'll just plug mental health professionals, right? And seeing someone, because it really is a responsibility that we have to take care of our minds. Our minds are very, very powerful in how they affect our own lives, but also how they affect the lives of everybody around us, right? So I just want to plug that one as being really important. How we do it, I know you're also a fan of journaling.
Yes.
And, that's a place where you can get it out of here, right, and put it down on paper. You can see it in black and white. You can go back to where I was last year. Or I like what you just said, Jackie, about looking to the future. Who is my future self? And really, cultivating that person as well. I like that a lot.
Well, we have to plant those seeds, and you never know who's watching you, too.
I do understand.
So I have to plant those seeds to, make sure my grass is green and looking pretty.
Yes.
And
so that other people will want to do that too.
Absolutely.
That's your inspiration.
Absolutely. Now we have a social self-care.
Social self-care, because we are often social beings. We need other people. We don't come into the world alone. And most of us don't want to walk, the whole journey alone.
Absolutely.
So paying attention to our friends. How do we connect with them? How do we let them know how important they are? Do we take time to remember the positive things that made them a friend anyway, right?
Right.
And just sharing that with someone is a really powerful form of social self-care. I'm paying attention. I have an attitude that this is important, and who my people are, right? I reward that. Or as you said, when it's toxic, when it's too much, maybe I limit it, right? In
Yes.
moderation. We all got some folks that we're going to have to interact with. But taking some time, how do I want to interact with that person? Maybe it's someone on your job or someone in your neighborhood or someone in your family. What words can I use? How do I want to interact with them? Where are the best settings for me to be around that people?
Right.
So that's, social self-care is just noticing what the people around me do for me, do to me, and also then planning how can they also be an asset to me.
Yeah, I was thinking about when we were going through our pandemic stages, where we couldn't go anywhere other than everything was closed down, and I thought about a lot of our seniors or shut-ins, and not having that physical
Touch.
or not even maybe phone
Check-in,
calls,
yeah.
check-ins. So I think with the self-care, how important it really is for us to have those interactions, like you said, and just hearing another voice other than your TV, but just that really got to me when we were going through that period of time.
That's tough. And that golden rule, right? So people may not be calling me, so I have to really use my social self-care to call them, to remind them how much I really appreciate when they do call, right? And just practicing and doing those things, and that really builds friendship. It tightens the bonds.
What about spiritual? You touched a little bit earlier on our spiritual. Anything else
Self-care,
you'd like to
well,
add?
just being aware that you're a spiritual being, that there are things that really elevate your spirit, right? And spirit, I think, often starts with breath, like inspired, there's inspiration, respiration. I think that, anything that makes you breathe easier, right, is really important. So for some folks, that's the forest. For some folks, that's the church or the mosque or the temple. And for some folks, that's just reading, right, that just elevates their spirit, or music or the arts, right? So spiritual is anything that really uplifts you. And it's so important to do that, because I think with everything else, our spirit is what's going to tell us we are living the lives that we are meant to be living. We are who we want to be, who we determine to be.
Absolutely. What are your feelings on protecting your peace?
Yes.
Because, sometimes we get to an extent of putting up a brick wall to protect our peace, and that's not healthy. And then, when you let our guard down, then, we got this invasion of not setting those boundaries where people invade our peace. So how do you protect your peace?
What you just said about boundaries is so very important, and knowing what does feel peaceful to me. And I may not be able to move to the neighborhood that feels peaceful to me today, but guess what? If I know that I'm working toward it, I'm saving up, I'm applying for jobs that are going to support me to move to that neighborhood where there is more peace for me, then that's a wonderful thing to do, right? But I think another thing that you said that's important about a boundary is, not having a brick wall no, but having a no when a no is needed, right? Having a fence that I can open and close and let in the things that really create peace for me, and escort out, right, the things that really upset my peace. But you're right that there's no one else on this planet whose job it is to protect your peace other than you.
Yes.
There's no one else on the planet who even knows what your peace feels like, what it is when you're in it, except you.
Yes.
So it's all about that self. Like often we have, we want others to care for us, right? We want our doctors to care for us when we're not well. We want our friends and our family to help take care of us. But it's really our responsibility above all else. So that self-care is so very important. And knowing when to say no is very important.
Going back to that
balance.
that's one of the top self-care that I've been trying to apply.
Yeah.
Because when you say no, you know, and you get the feedback from the individual that's asked you for, and it's just like, oh, and then you be like, okay, I'll go ahead and do it.
Yes.
You know, that guilt.
The
guilt
guilt.
comes
We gotta
with
really work
yeah.
with guilt. We gotta, you know, get some emotional
fine-tuning
self-care out on
the-
that. Yeah.
the guilt.
Because we misuse it, right? We feel badly about things that aren't our responsibility, right? Or that we didn't have any control over.
Right.
We try to make up for things from long, long ago that aren't really relevant to right here and right now. And so guilt gets kind of used in some ways that it wasn't meant to be used. Right, like hammers can be used in ways they weren't meant to be used. And they can do a lot of damage.
Yeah,
right?
definitely.
But Jackie, I had a quote from someone recently, and they were talking about setting boundaries with a loved one, and they said, you know what? I control the door and the price of admission.
Wow, I love that.
So if you're gonna get in, right? That there's a price, that there's there's something that we have to do to have that balance and that give and take in a relationship. And so sometimes really respecting that not everybody's paying the price to get in, so should they really be there?
Yes, and I think we need to do an evaluation from time to time of you know, associates, friends, and even family members. You know, okay, this person, you know, I hear from, or, you know, that's really concerned about my being, just like I am theirs. Okay, so they're going to be on the top tier, and, you know, you just work your way down.
Yes.
And not feel guilty about that. Because sometimes, you know, you feel guilty about, you know, making those choices, and in the end, it's still affecting your mindset. So,
and I know this wouldn't happen to you, as lovely as you are, but there are times where other people may not want to engage with you. And you don't have to make them feel guilty about that either, that they're deciding maybe in this moment here and now that that they need to take a break from a relationship. And then there's some relationships that are just so strong, you don't have to nurture them and water them very often, right? Those people that you may not speak to for 2 or 3 years, but when you do, it is just as hearty, and you know that from afar they have cared about you.
absolutely.
They have been cheering for you, right?
Yes.
So there's all different ways of evaluating who gets to stay and who's paying that price to be admitted as one of my friends.
Well, I think that's part of making your choice of what is a friendship to you. How do you value friendships? And not even friendships, but even with family members. You know, evaluate each relationship that you encounter and see how that benefits, you know, in your life, you know.
Yes.
We want the pluses, and then, you know, maybe some minuses from time to time, but definitely the pluses, because in the end,
yes.
you know.
Yeah,
More.
If they're bringing, you know, the good stuff, if it's really elevating you. But learning how to do those minuses, you know, how to notify somebody that, I'm sorry, you're not on the admission list anymore.
I love that. I love it.
I do too. I borrow it. It's very, very nice to be in control of that and to realize that we are.
But do you find, especially with women, that we don't know how to do that? We stay in those toxic relationships. We, you know.
Yeah.
I think we really need to work on, you know, learning to love ourselves. My mom, when I was growing up, she would tell us every morning when we brush our teeth to look in the mirror, and Mary J. Blige just came out with that song, Good Morning. I can't even think of the name of the song. I have a brain freeze.
Yeah.
But Gorgeous, Good Morning Gorgeous.
Okay.
And but my mom, she would tell us, tell yourself, I love you in the mirror every morning.
Yes.
And, you know, when I was in high school, you know, I'm brushing my teeth, it's like, okay, this sounds really silly. But now, when I look back on it, I was like, man.
She was planting those seeds.
She was planting that seed of you know, self-love.
And that internal dialogue. You know, we think about communication skills as something we do with others, right? External, how other people are understanding what I'm trying to say. But there's internal dialogue as well, right? Those words that we say to ourselves, how we think about ourselves, how do we treat ourselves when we make a mistake, when we don't achieve something that we were trying to achieve, right? Are we harsh and punishing and critical? Are we supportive and uplifting and able to get back up, dust ourselves off and keep trying again?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's funny how words can impact you, especially if you're with a child. Some of the negative messages that was told to you.
Yes.
And, even as an adult, you replay those negative messages.
Yes.
So
Yes.
learning how to really love yourself, self-care, and the self-love,
Yes.
you trying to wean off of those messages
Yes.
because they, as a child,
You're very fertile soil
Yeah.
for what comes your way.
yeah.
You asked about women having a difficult time with self-care, and I think we all are going to practice what we have been taught, right? And, abuse, trauma, neglect, those are things that teach people to practice more self-abuse, more staying in situations that are traumatic. You get used to it. Maybe you think that's what you deserve. Again, that's a belief, it's an attitude, it's a mentality that deserves to be put on the table and really examined, right? Not just where it came from, but where is it going?
Yes.
Where is this attitude, this belief that I should stay in this no matter what, or that this person is more deserving of the goodness of a relationship than I am?
Yeah.
And so, but, often we have been taught that, and they could be just slight things, but they can be really major things that teach a person kind of what they're worth, what
Yeah.
they deserve, how they deserve to be treated. And you're right about just working really hard, because the world is rough. It's pretty dirty,
Yeah.
So being able, we've got the bullying, right? It doesn't have to be a family member. It can just be going to school can be rough.
Yes.
Or just not being able to understand this math stuff. That can be really rough on a person's mindset and how they learn to treat themselves.
Yeah, absolutely.
So working hard to counterbalance that with more uplifting, kind, nourishing. You'll remember, we all have somebody in our mind that was the kind teacher or the kind family member, that person that just valued us and delighted. You could see it in their eyes.
Yes.
And that's what your mom was teaching you, to be that person, right?
Right.
To be that person in that mirror that's looking at you, looking at your own eyes and saying, you are worthwhile. I love you.
Yeah. I think over the years, I lost that message where, to the point where I didn't love myself. But as I've gotten older and, lots of self-evaluation.
Coming back
Coming
around.
back.
Yeah.
What do you think about teenagers? Because with the hectic
Oh my
society today and mental health, how would you recommend our teens? They go through so much
Absolutely.
with self-care.
Oh yeah, I think that's so important because they're under a lot of pressure to grow up and grow up fast, and things that are moving very fast in terms of our screens, the social media, and also our schools. I look at what students have to learn nowadays, and I'm
Yes.
like, I think I was 25 before I had that, right? And you're just 12, and here you are trying to master it and mastering it. So I think having that time, again, adolescence is a really important time of self-discovery, learning who I am, what I like, what I don't like, who I'm going to be. And so within that, if our society, if our parents, if our teachers can encourage that, how to care for that self, it's really pivotal and important. And our teens, they feel the effect of adults who haven't been responsible, of a society that's confused and not sure where it's going, and that really rains down on our vulnerable people.
Yes.
And while they are in the process of growing, they're not fully there yet. And so it's really important for them to have models, for them to have activities, places, people that can help shape that. Kindness, compassion, self-care.
Well, this has been a very engaging and really learning about what we need to do to take self-care. We're almost out of time.
Okay.
But I would just like to thank you for your knowledge, your expertise
Jackie.
on providing the viewers, some food for thought on taking care of themselves, loving themselves. And love to have you back again.
Thank you so much for having me the first time. This is my first
The first
time.
time.
Right,
Right.
yes. And thank you so much to all of your viewers who are paying attention and to what inspires them and allowing Jackie, you to be a model for that, because you really are inspirational.
Oh, you're so kind.
Powerful.
Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you. It was a great show, and I hope you enjoy it. And I'll see you next time on Inspired. Take care.